Okay.
Awesome. Great break. Thank you. Jules believes that it's time for us to tap into a global movement for equity for women and to make the change happen ourselves by shining a light on the huge, diverse range of women in Australia and overseas that are making a difference. She believes it's all about lifting up the women around us. Jules is also the founder of Handle Your Own PR, a public relations software as a service platform in Australia for small business owners, experts, and entrepreneurs who want to get publicity for their brand. And now, please join me in welcoming the amazing Jules Brooke.
Wow, I can hardly live up to that amazing introduction, but it's fantastic to see you all. So thank you so much. I am going to take you through something that started off as the 4 pillars, as now at the 7 pillars. Who knows what I'm going to do as I develop this? But this is a program that I've started developing, and I've been sharing it with the women in Australia, and they've been really liking it. So I thought I'd share it with you guys, girls, I should say. I don't know why I'm saying guys, and see what you think as well. So you're all very welcome. And I am going to just share the screen now and take you through the program. So, all about how to become a woman of influence, because I think it's super important that we actually become more visible as role models for younger girls, and in order to be able to shift the dial or make the changes that we want to see in the world. And I think one of the things, certainly in Australia, but I have been interviewing women all over the world now, is that I think that post-pandemic, there is a global movement where women are kind of rising up and saying, enough of all this. We've been sitting around waiting for equality long enough. We want to actually start taking it into our own hands. And if we're going to do that, we do need to have a degree of influence and power, because if you don't have that, then nobody is going to listen to you. So, whoops, now my thing doesn't want to work. Okay, so first I thought I'd tell you a tiny bit about me. Both of these are, well, let me start with Handle Your Own PR. Handle Your Own PR was created at the last catastrophe at the GFC in 2008, where I suddenly realized that if people either didn't have the money or wanted to know themselves how to reach out to journalists, that I could teach them. And so I've been teaching people, particularly women, how to get publicity, how to get free media coverage since 2008. And then at the beginning of the pandemic, where I'm in Melbourne in Australia, we were the most locked down city in the world. I think we had more than 250 days a year for both of the first 2 years of the pandemic in lockdown. And so I started this group to connect women and support them through that. And it has just grown very organically. I particularly am focused on women over 40 and who are running their own businesses. So that's a little bit of background about me. As I said, I think it is really important in business, firstly, that women become more visible. There was a hideous stat out of the Institute of Media Diversity by the fabulous, oh my goodness, the woman who was in there, the accidental tourist, what's her name? Gina Davis. And the stat that came out in late 2020 was that women over 50 appear in less than 4% of media globally. And this was obviously around entertainment, but I thought, and that was coupled with me finding out that girls 11 to 16 say that they just can't see the women who are doing the jobs that they want to have when they're older. So I thought we need to make ourselves more visible. We need to actually step into a situation where we have more power and influence, because we need to change the world and stop waiting for the world to be changed for us. So now I'm just going to reduce the picture of you. So I'm not going to be able to see you girls, but Colleen is monitoring the chat, and feel free to put anything in the chat that you want. But why should we make ourselves more influential? Most of us, particularly women, have got some kind of purpose behind their business, something that they want to see changed, or that they are doing something to help others. But if you want to make change happen, and you need to be a role model for the young girls watching you. So, as I said, you need power and influence to make that happen. But what I'm talking about is not the kind of influence that you get on Instagram. I'm fed up with The idea that by looking pretty and being able to wear a bikini or some clothes nicely, that you are an influencer, because I just think that's rubbish. I'm talking about real influence and power. And excuse me, one of the things that, having worked with women now for over 20 years, one of the things that I hear and know about, and you hear, and I'm sure all of you would know about this too, is that none of us like promoting ourselves. But there's lots of ways that you can rethink and reimagine how that's going to work. So the first thing is that you take the focus off yourself, because I think for most women we really don't like talking about ourselves or reaching out and saying, "Aren't we great?" So you promote your message and not yourself. Think about how you're able to help other people. Think about what you know that you can help other people with advice and tips. You can help people avoid making mistakes. There's lots and lots of things in your head that you can share with other people that doesn't have to be about yourself. It's implied, it will reflect back on you, but that you are sharing your advice and your knowledge rather than about yourself. Podcasts are a great way of doing it, but if you're trying to build a bit of a profile, think about promoting other people. Think about talking about the people that you come across in business who are brilliant, particularly if they're women. Now, podcasts are a great way of doing that, because you can be very strategic about it, and I'm going to talk about it later. But it also gives you an opportunity every week to go out with something from yourself that's not about you, but that is demonstrating your expertise. And last but not least, try and be generous. So there's a lot of people who believe that if they hand out information, if they hand out all their tips, they're losing their IP and they want to keep everything really close to their chest. But I would actually say the opposite. I think be really generous with your information. And what you'll find is that instead of people going, "Oh, now they've told me everything, I'm going to go off and do it," they go, "Wow, that woman really knows her stuff. She's the woman that I'm going to start following, or I'm going to listen to." So be very generous with your time and your expertise, and you will find that your profile will start to build that way as well. Now, one of the things that I'm incredibly passionate about, and it's obviously part of my PR thing, and by the way, excuse all the photos, I was trying to think of what would be some good photos to illustrate this. And one of the things I always say to women is try and make yourself into a human emoticon. And so these are just some illustrations of me doing lots and lots of different photos. Anyway, it's important to be visible, and that is particularly important for women, because 40% of business owners in the world, or more in America, I'm not sure, but certainly in Australia, are women. But you don't see that reflected in the media. Oh, sorry, I'm just recovering from a cold. We're just coming out of winter here. As I said, women over 50, I told you about that stat, appear in less than 4% of media. And there was a wonderful campaign by a woman in England who was married to the Prime Minister of England, and I interviewed her. And she has started a fabulous business, which you can find, called inspiringgirls.co.uk. And she did a campaign called hashtag This Little Girl Is Me, and had people from Michelle Obama to Angela Merkel putting up photos of themselves when they were younger and saying, "This is what I thought I wanted to be, and this is what I'm doing now." And the idea behind it was that she'd found some research that says that young girls can't see the women who are role models for them for when they grow up. So, another great way of thinking about self promotion is that you are actually providing role models for those girls. You're doing a service. It's not all about you, it's about them. So, we need to make ourselves more visible. Oops, doesn't want to turn now. All right. So, really, when I talk about promoting yourself, it's really not about you, but it kind of is. And what I mean by that is if you take the focus off yourself and think about the women around you and that role model, it makes it much easier to start thinking about, okay, I'll make myself stand up. I'm going to stand up above the parapet. I'm going to be a face that people know, because it's important for young girls. Also, think about all the people that you can help. The more you raise your profile, the more you're able to share your expertise, the more people you're able to help. And I think for a lot of women, that's a very palatable thing to be doing. and much easier to think about than self-promotion. And of course, how to use your experience to help others. And then I want you to, once you are powerful and influential, use that power for good. So in this talk, I'm going to talk about the 7 steps that I think that are required. And if you have all of these, then you absolutely will start to raise your profile and your influence. And the 7 things that I think are really important are networking, a PR, LinkedIn, podcasting, speaking, awards, and an online course. Now, of course, all of these don't suit everyone, and some of you will find that you're already doing part of it, and that you maybe are just missing 2 or 3 elements. But this combination is incredibly powerful when it comes to building a reputation, building some influence online. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is networking. And I think that by being in this group and the women that are in my group, we kind of understand the power of networking. But networking, as we all know these days, it's not really what you know, it's who you know. And in fact, I was looking for an image yesterday, and there's an actual extension to that where people go, it's not even who you know, it's who knows you. But networking is all about that, and it is incredibly important. And certainly in my life, when I was starting out as an entrepreneur, probably 20, 30 years ago, the people that I met at networking events are the same friends that I still have now and that I can talk about business with. And those people then go on to other roles, and your network starts to build out. So supporters, colleagues, and advisors will be crucial to your success. In fact, there's some great stats that say that men, as long as men have got a support network, they will succeed. But for women, it makes a huge difference for them to have a support network of other women. And I think knowing that other women have got your back is really, really important. And that's why it's important for you to grow that network. You also want, obviously, a network of colleagues and advisors. So those 3 are the kind of people that you are looking for when you're at networking. And of course, we all have our, radar on that we're looking for customers as well. But if you think of your network as being the engine that are going to really propel you forward, then I think that will, it's a different way of thinking about it, but it's really important. Now, networking doesn't come easily to everyone, particularly if you're a bit introverted. Um, but it is a skill that you can build. And the wonderful Wendy Lloyd Curley that I know has just joined us on this call is one of those people who really, really understands networking. So Wendy is the author of a fabulous book that is called Don't Waste Your Time Networking. And in the book, she talks about how to be very strategic about the networking you're doing and not just go there to hopefully meet someone, but to go there with an intention. And Wendy, I'm going to be running a course. So this is part of me talking to you about a course that I'm starting next month. And Wendy is going to be one of the experts who will be helping people with techniques so that you don't waste your time with networking. And of course, I have built up over the last few years a massive network of incredibly influential women, including the fabulous Linda Fisk, and women in the UK, other women in America. And anybody who comes and works with me has got access to that network because I can easily do introductions. Okay, look, my bloody arrow button doesn't want to work. The next thing is PR. And as the beautiful Colleen was saying in my intro, I've been teaching PR for a very long time. So I'm going to share all that knowledge as part of this course. Getting featured in the media positions you almost immediately as a leader in your field, because whether it's true or not, most people feel that journalists have gone out, or producers have gone out, to find the best people in the industry in order to interview them, talk about them, or share their stories. So straight away, it gives you a positioning of leadership. But the other beautiful thing about PR is that it builds trust almost immediately. It has the same effect as another woman telling you by word of mouth about a great business that she's found. And the reason for that is that we have our favorite media. We trust the editors, we trust the authors. And how many times have we read a story about something and thought, oh my God, that sounds perfect. That's just what I need. And you go and look for it. So with PR, people will look for you, they'll look for your services, and it's a great positioning tool because it is that third party endorsement. The other reason that I love teaching people about PR is that once you do your own PR, you start to build relationships with journalists. They build it back with you. They start to understand what it is that you can offer, the expertise in the area that you're in. And believe me, you go on their expert list and they will keep coming back to you. So it actually starts to build its own momentum. There's a guy that I taught a few years ago now who we managed with one media release to get into all the mainstream newspapers and every single one of the evening news in Australia. We only have 4 or 5 free to air channels here. Um, and his business went absolutely off. And this is about 5 or 6 years ago. He got a hit on his website every minute for 3 hours and got 7 months worth of business in just that 3 hours. But what was interesting is I spoke to him again recently, and he said, "Yep, all the TV shows still come to me, and they still ask me to comment because I'm seen as their expert in headaches, which was his area." So those journalists will keep coming back to you. The other thing I love about PR is because it's free. Once you learn how to spin your story, you're not paying the media; you're just giving them a great story. So it doesn't cost any more to go to the really big media that you couldn't possibly afford to advertise in. So you can target TV, you can target radio, and you can go to the bigger newspapers, such as maybe the New York Times, and you can go outside of the country as well. So all of those things make it really important that you learn, I think, how to do PR. I will be guiding anybody who is doing the course with me. I'm going to guide you through this process. I know it intimately. And I'm also going to bring some journalists in to come and talk, or I've got some journalist interviews about what they love in a pitch, what they hate in a pitch, what has been a good pitch and what their tips would be to small business owners who are trying to get coverage. Um, the next thing is LinkedIn. Now, I assume all of you are on LinkedIn, but I really think that LinkedIn has changed a lot over the last few years. One of the best things that I love about LinkedIn is that even though 900 million plus women people are on it, only 2% of people post. Now, if you think of Instagram or Facebook, we're all posting all the time, and it's a very crowded market until you find your individual groups. And even in the groups, if they're big, it's very hard to get cut through. But LinkedIn, which is all about business to business anyway, but if you have consumer products, it's where your products might be bought in bulk by organizations. LinkedIn only has 2% of the people that post, and so it is easier to get noticed very fast. So I probably post on LinkedIn 1 to 3 times a day, and my audience has grown by 6 times in the last 2 years. So it is very easy to build some profile pretty quickly and get noticed by people who are leading organizations. And you are also able to easily reach out to very senior people. So where normally you would have to go through a gatekeeper such as an EA, when you're on LinkedIn, a lot of the CEOs are actually on there themselves, so you can get directly through to them. Regular LinkedIn posts help you build an influential network, and the one of the top 20 LinkedIn experts in the world is a wonderful woman in New Zealand called Linnea Johnson, and I'm going to get her to give us a whole lot of tips and answer some questions all around how to make the most out of LinkedIn and what's coming up. Because, of course, she, being one of the top 20 LinkedIn experts, is privy to everything that they're planning on doing. One of which I know is podcasts, which is pretty interesting. And which leads me perfectly to my next one. So, the next element that I think is really important if you want to build a mix and start to have some influence is podcasting. Now, when I talk about podcasting, I don't actually really care how many people watch it or listen to it because that's not the point of it. It's obviously a bonus. And if you can get loads and loads of followers, then, that's going to open up a whole lot of another world to you. But really, the whole thing I think about podcasting is to make it very strategic. There's a whole lot of reasons why I think it's really good. Firstly, it gives you something to post that's not about yourself. every single week, but also it reflects back on you. So you're going to choose a podcast that is in your area of expertise. You're going to come up with a snappy name, and then you can actually reach out to very senior people. So, for instance, I was talking with a woman who's a voice expert who I'm coaching at the moment. So I said to her, rather than going out to students, you could go out to opera singers. You could go out to people in the theatre that use their voice. You could go out to some of the top speakers in the world about their voice. And once you do that and you've spent half an hour chatting with someone on a podcast and then you've promoted them, there is a relationship there. So that's one of the ways that you can really grow your influential network. The other thing is that people get to have a little taste of what it is that you're like. You know, they get to hear you, they get to hear you speak, they get to hear the way that the conversation flows, and they get a bit of a sense of the person that you are. And of course, you will build followers and listeners in your industry. Now, I've had a podcast for nearly 3 years. She's the Boss Chats is focused on female founders and women in business, and I have reached out to women, incredible women all over the world to interview them. So I can't remember what I was going to say about that. So it doesn't. So my network has grown a lot from that. And the other thing is to be very strategic about who you interview and how that's going to build your business. So there are a lot of podcasts out there that are just very chatty and fun, and I really enjoy those ones as well. But mine, I would have to say, is a combination of both, and that's what I would encourage you to do. Make sure that it is something that you're going to be able to talk about with these people and that it positions you in some way in the industry that you are working in or that you want to build some influence in. Now, it kind of goes without saying that speaking is going to be part of this little portfolio. I think we all know that the person, anyone that's on a stage, is a bit of a leader. We're all normally sitting below them. So, for a start, they are the leader up on the stage. Start thinking about developing a keynote on your specific topic. If you haven't done any speaking, then I would encourage you to go out to your local councils, start in a local area, start in the small business groups where they're always looking for speakers, and practice until you can build up enough content and you are slick enough that you can take it onto a big stage and then just keep going. It's a great way to share your expertise. It's a great way to build a following. And of course, there are countless organizations out there that are looking for speakers. As women, I would encourage you to make sure you get paid wherever possible, particularly if it's a paid event. I know in Australia we have gazillions of organizations asking people to speak for free. Just see if you can get something. Also, the professional speaker organizations normally require that you have been paid for up to 10 events in that year before they'll take you on. So if you do decide you want to do speaking and you want to go to one of the speaker bureaus and have them represent you, then you're going to need to make sure that you've been paid. You can also consider running your own workshops or workshops for other people, as they are also great positioning and a great opportunity for you to share your expertise. Now, Dr. Louise Mahler is one of the top speakers in the world. She just is a professional speaker, and she's Australia's #1 public speaker, and she's a fabulous woman. And I have asked her if she would come and share her expertise with the women that will be working with me in this course. So she is absolutely at the top of the tree. In fact, I remember saying to her at one stage, "What's the most you've ever been paid? And how big is the audience?" And she'd gone to America and had to speak in a stadium of 35,000 people, um, uh, and told me how hard it was to control. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how hard it would be to control the audience like that. But anyway, that is that woman, and I have asked her to come and help us. Awards, I think, are also incredibly important. Now, I heard a stat the other day that only 13%, as in 13%, of awards are being won by women at the moment. So, as women, I think it's really important that we get out there and start applying for awards. Obviously, they validate your position as a winner, and there's a lot that you can do with being a finalist in an award as well as winning. So there are lots of ways that you can use that content to promote yourself. It gives you great exposure to a new audience. having judged for a lot of awards now, I would have to tell you that the judges take note, and you normally have quite influential people as the judges, as well as the people that you're going to go and share that your win with afterwards. It's really great exposure. It gives you a great opportunity to talk about winning and the buzz that goes on afterwards, normally after an awards. You can share your awards everywhere. You can then on your LinkedIn profile go award winning, whatever. You can put it on your website. You can put it in your email signature. We have a woman in Australia who's a member of She's the Boss called Annette Dencham, who helps women particularly win awards. And I've asked her to come and give us some tips about what kind of awards we can apply for, and what it is the judges are looking for, and how to prepare yourself to make it really easy for you to apply for awards over and over again, and what you can do with that content once you put it all together. Now, the latest one that I have started bringing into the 7 pillars is online courses. And the reason for that is there are a few different reasons for that. The first one is that I believe that, again, it gives people the opportunity to get to know you. It also, what I particularly love about it is that you can create a course that answers all the questions that you continually get asked, and you can put people through that kind of an online course, whether you charge for it or whether you make it free, and then upsell into working more closely with you. An example of that is in Handle Your Own PR. I've created an online course where I've just taught all the basics about PR, how to come up with a newsworthy angle, how to approach journalists, what they're looking for, and then how to do follow up and a whole lot of things like that. Now, I make everyone who I teach do that course and watch those videos before they come to me, so that I can start at a higher level than I would have to if I didn't have them there. So it's a really great way to share the basics of your expertise. It obviously can be the beginning of a sales funnel. The other thing is it gives you that opportunity of one to many. So instead of doing one-to-one kind of coaching or one-to-one speaking with people, you can get it out there to a lot of other people. And obviously, it's a way where you ultimately don't have to keep repeating yourself. You just record it and let people go through it. And at the end of it, you can upsell to some kind of one-on-one or premium offer. We have a wonderful woman in Australia called Sam Winch. Sam specializes in helping people put together courses. In fact, that's all she does. She just works with experts, helps them pull all that information out of their head and all the stuff you've got on your computer, and turns it into a course. So I have asked her to come and explain what it is that sort of makes a really good course and how to put that together. And we have another woman in the group who is an ex-interior designer who decided to put together a platform to take on the likes of Teachable and Thinkific and Kajabi, and she's called hers Wisdom. And so I have asked her to come along. She's just finished developing it. It got launched at the end of last year, and talk about, how to use those kind of platforms really well and what to look for and what elements to use. So they are going to come and work with us as well. So for me, if you can master all those 7 elements and bring them together as a full strategy, you will watch your power grow, you will watch your influence grow, and you'll start to get more and more and more followers. And I think that it's really important, again, to go back to taking the yuck out of it, to not be thinking about how you're going to go out and go, guess what, aren't I great? Or just guess what, I have just achieved this or done that. It's more important that you take the information that you've got and think about how you're able to help other people, and how you can share your expertise, and then watch your power grow.